It's happening. WWE is officially interested in Giulia. PW Insider popped up with that report. I remember when I saw the report pop up on my phone. It said exclusive WWE seeking to sign current New Japan champion. I was like, oh sweet, who are they taking away? Oh, it's gonna be Osprey. It's gonna be like someone like. And then I was like, I opened it and I see her face. I was like, come on, man. Come on. Why did it have to be the one that one of the two? If it was the other one, I probably would have canceled the show.
Yeah. Trust me, mate, I wouldn't be here today if it was the other one.
No, I don't think I would have invited anyone. I would have just been like, show's over. We're done. So long.
Just a black background in mourning. Yeah, no, I feel that, brother. I feel that.
But yes, WWE is interested in Giulia, as reported by PW Insider, confirmed by Dave Meltzer, but conflicting reports after that. PW Insider went as far as saying that one source stated the talks are far enough long that Giulia is expected at the WWE Performance Center sometime this month, which was confusing. Because obviously we were like, I don't know how that would work. She's signed to a company, but sure. It's WWE. So you don't rule out anything. We've seen wrestlers go to the Performance Center, right? Utami went to the Performance Center. Ryu Yamashita went to the Performance Center. Does that mean they are, joining? No. But when you see that, you instantly like, okay, well, that's not great. And then, of course, Dave Meltzer comes back, says she's signed till March. Bushiroad's not just gonna let her walk right into the Performance Center. She's pretty much booked up until at least January with Battle in the Valley, where she'll be defending the Strong Women's Championship, I presume. So get that all out of the way. We got that all covered. We got the important stuff covered. And I just want to start this conversation off by saying this. WWE shouldn't be allowed to be a professional wrestling company if they weren't interested in Giulia. Every company in the world should get one look at Giulia and her aura and be interested in her services. That's where I start this conversation off. Rob, how did you feel about the news?
Sick, if I'm perfectly honest. Me and Matt were texting about something, and he sent me the PWI article, and it did come something out of the blue, really, but it was very much a case of when you hear the WWE want someone, their track record of booking stars anyway isn't great, and you automatically get that vision of Giulia just being a member of I don't know, Joe Gacy's group or something in NXT, and it's just bad. Something terrible, being under a mask or something. But you're absolutely right. There are very few wrestlers that ooze the sort of charisma and just inherent star power that Giulia has done. Since I would argue early 2021 is when she really started to find her stride and become this incredibly magnetic figure. You can't not look at her. You can't not focus on her. I completely agree with you. I think I'd be amazed if AEW hasn't looked at Giulia, if Impact Wrestling hasn't looked at Giulia. If you have the money, if you want the strongest women's division, you've got to look at Stardom, and who better in Stardom at the moment, who is on a better run, who is more marketable than Giulia. I mean, just look at her. She's got everything: the star power, the aura, the wrestling acumen. She's improved massively in the ring. She's improved massively with her ring sort of awareness and things like that. Plus, it helps that every wrestling company wants that gorgeous star. And Giulia is gorgeous. There's no getting around that. So it was unsurprising that WWE wanted Giulia. The way the article was worded was very, very strange. It was almost as though like we'd missed a couple of days in this wrestling story, because they went from there's interest and she's basically signed, which is absolute nonsense, obviously, because she can't turn up this month because she is signed to a contract with Bushiroad. And it's worth pointing out here that Giulia is at the moment, the biggest star in Stardom.
Mm-hmm.
Stardom are currently without half their roster with regard to injuries. The only way Giulia is going to be allowed to walk before March is if Bushi Road allow her to sort of not see out the rest of her contract,
Which will
which
not happen.
is not going to happen. Obviously,
Right.
you've got no Utami, no Saya, you've got no Hanan now, you've got no Starlight Kid. She's just coming back from injury. You've got no Tam, your red belt champions now on the shelf as well. The last thing you want is one of your last big stars that's actually fit to then be going off to the WWE. It's whether there has been interest, whether it's concrete interest, it's certainly not going to happen before March. I would be amazed if we are back again in a couple of months and she's already gone. I'd be amazed.
I 100% agree. The way I looked at it when the news came out was, first of all, instant doom in my heart.
Obviously.
Instant sadness, of course, as any Stardom fan should have if Giulia is possibly walking out the door. But then I sat back and I thought about it. I was like, okay. And then, the Meltzer stuff came out, so that always helps. But I thought about it, and it's like, this is the same scenario as Io Shirai to me with Giulia. Giulia is the bona fide top superstar of the company, right? She's someone that doesn't need the top title to be at the top of the conversation. She is a complete package of a women's pro wrestler in the year 2023. She's a complete package of a pro wrestler in the year 2023. But in America, if you're a women's pro wrestler, that's a complete package. It's all the better because of just how certain companies book. Certain companies, all of them for the most part. But she is someone, again, who I think as time has gone on, we've all kind of accepted inevitably, if she wants to make that jump, someone will be waiting for her to do so. The good news, however, is that Stardom, unlike when Io left, couldn't be better suited to move forward. And that's the way I'm looking at this, because no, Giulia's not out the door tomorrow. No, Giulia may not even leave in March. She could easily resign if she wants to stay with Bushi Road, New Japan, and maybe dip into AEW a little. That's always a possibility, right? If she don't want to go to America full time. But no matter what, Stardom couldn't be better suited for something like this if it were to happen. There is no roster in the world better suited for this. Yes, they're banged up right now. I get that. But when they're 100%, there are so many hungry, ready wrestlers that I couldn't have less of a fear for them long term. Short term, yeah, it's going to sting if Giulia's not here. That's just natural. But it's not the same scenario with Io leaving, where it's like, all right, Mayu and Momo, you need to carry us. Mayu, Momo, and Kagetsu. You three are like, this is it. And everyone else, we just got to build up, right? It's not
Absolutely
that same scenario this time around. And I think that is almost exciting in a way. Again, I'm not hoping Giulia is leaving. But the yen is down. WWE money talks. The interest of going international, Giulia has very much shown that this year. That's why she's pretty much strong women's champion to begin with. I'm pretty sure, because she wanted to do international. So with that mindset, I think Stardom's going to be just fine if the time were to come and she walked out.
You look at this year's 5-Star Grand Prix, and the final was Suzu Suzuki versus Maika, who, if Giulia is to leave, and again, I don't think she's leaving. I personally think her contract is longer than March. March is such a strange time to do contracts. It tends to be the start of the year or the end of the year. So I'd be amazed if she's signed to March. I'm sure we'll find out sooner rather than later. But, Maika, Suzu Suzuki, you have got two of the best young wrestlers in the world, irrespective of gender, in Starlight Kid and Azumi, just waiting in the wings. You've got Natsupoi, who had a blinding 5-star Grand Prix. So, right off the bat there, and that's not even counting the likes of Saya Kamatani and Utami, who are already sort of main event players and are still young. I think Saya's 26 and Utami's 25, or 24. So,
yeah,
I mean, the youth on the roster is absolutely ridiculous. And, when Stardom lost Io, having just lost Kairi as well, it's worth pointing out, there was literally Mayu, Momo Watanabe, and Kagetsu, like you mentioned.
Who was 18 at the time, Momo, and just won the title.
Who was 18 at the time, just won the title, and then a year later had a really bad injury. So it could have been significantly worse, but it was a case of, right, we need to build stars and we need to build them quickly. And then, of course, thankfully we had the likes of Hana Kimura come through, Hazuki come through, also Utami, for example. Yeah. So Stardom are used to this. Stardom have done this. And the unfortunate thing is that no company is safe from the likes of the WWE, who can simply offer more money than most other companies can. I mean, you look at New Japan. New Japan lost AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, and the club all in one fell swoop. Pretty much gutted the sort of lower main event scene. And they recovered and they were fine. They just pushed other people to that scene. Stardom are in a very, very lucky position that not only have they got fantastic wrestlers on their roster, as proved by the fact that they were able to carry the 5-star Grand Prix after all the injuries, but they've also got youth on their side, and that's really important as well. It's not a quick fix. Starlight Kid and Azumi, like I said, 21 and 20, I think, or 21 and 22. So they've got, 6-7 years left in ring at the very least, or you hope anyway, fingers crossed, touch wood. That's very, very exciting, because for me, if Stardom were to run the Tokyo Dome, which they want to do at some point, whether that's 2025 like they initially said, or whether it's pushed back, I could legitimately see Starlight Kid and Azumi main eventing the Tokyo Dome. And I don't think a single Joshi fan or Stardom fan would go, they don't feel like they belong in that main event. They do, absolutely. So, yes, in basically, in being a bit more concise, losing Giulia would suck massively in the short haul because she is such a star. But that just offers another opportunity to, a Micah, for example, who I would love to see fill that role. And I think from the small bits that we've seen of her in the main event scene, has more than enough to fill that hole.
I do have a running gag on this show that I mock Micah, just because she keeps losing her big matches. But
she
wins them, it goes to that next level, right? Yeah, the way I look at it overall at the end of the day is, no matter if Giulia is here after March or gone, it's time to go all in on the next generation. Right? Because Utami's built up, Saya's built up, Mirai's built up, Micah can be built up. It's very easy because she has the fans behind her. Wouldn't be that hard, right? To just go that next step. So they're ready. You can always push Suzuki, who obviously fans have been crying for it to happen.
Crying for,
myself included. I watched this weekend. She did. It wasn't even this weekend. It was last weekend, actually. It was the triple threat, like her, Micah, and Ruaka. And I was like, Hazuki's always an MVP on house shows. But now that Natsupoi's gone, now that like half the roster's gone, there's almost no one more valuable to my entertainment on these shows than her.
Like I said, we recorded yesterday and we laugh about Hazuki because she's just no days off Hazuki. Like, it doesn't matter if she's in the main event challenging for that red belt or if she's in the opener against Fukigen Death. She is at the same level, that same intensity. And it's hilarious. It's brilliant. It makes for fantastic wrestling, but it is really, really funny that in a 5-minute three-way with Ruaka, she's still throwing bombs in the same way she would be if she was wrestling for the red belt.
She's a brilliant wrestler. So she's someone you push. Natsupoi is obviously ready to go. Like, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and when I say ready to go, I don't mean she's walking back into health right now. I have no idea what her health status is. I know she's injured, but when she's ready to go, I think everyone is ready for her to get that next step. She has shown she's ready for that next step. And then, of course, there are the future talents. You instantly look at Sue Suzuki, who, mind you, just won the 5-star Grand Prix. Think she'll be fine. I just realized that my camera was being covered this whole time. We have Azumi, who I think, again, everyone's ready to take that next step. Starlight Kid, same goes for her. You have Han, who's obviously getting prepared for the main event level, teaming with Mayu Utami, stuff like that, right? And overall, this is when you start going with them to me, because you want to just have them ready. It's not, okay, let's get there, see if Giulia's going to still be around, and then do it. You get ahead of the curve, which they already are in many ways, right? You said it perfectly. Suzu and Micah were just in the 5-star final. Now, was that the planned final? Probably not, but they went with it.
Yeah.
They went with it. They were willing to go with them. There is a reality where Tam will not be here in a couple of years, because she has teased retirement as many times as any wrestler I've ever seen without actually doing it.
Apart from Keiji Muto, that's the level.
I expect Tam to have a Keiji Muto like retirement run.
The actual Tam Road. If she doesn't market it as the Tam Road, what are we even doing? I mean, you're absolutely right there with Tam. Mayu's the same. Mayu's
nope, we don't say that. Yeah, that's illegal on the show.
You are talking to the number one Mayu fan, man. But these main eventers, people who we've built the company around, they aren't going to be wrestling forever. And you're absolutely right. What better way to integrate them into that main event scene than right now, when they still have the talent that we've got in Giulia, in Tam, in Mayu? I mean, you look at this year's Dream Queendom, assuming everyone is fit, obviously, and assuming that Tam has the red belt still, you could quite easily have Utami take that belt. You could quite easily have Suzu Suzuki if you are going to push the 5-star shot back. You could put Natsupoi in the white belt match with Mirai, and everyone would go, that's amazing. I hope she wins. You could put Hazuki in that role with the white belt. There's so many people you can put in line for those belts that aren't Giulia, Mayu, Tam, that as long as everyone's fit and raring to go, I don't have concerns. Now, if you were to ask me if you had a choice of losing Giulia or not losing Giulia, obviously I don't want to lose Giulia. Right. She is the biggest star in the company, and not one person in that company has grown, in my estimation, as much as Giulia has since her debut. Like, I've gone from sick of her being thrust down my throat in 2020 to just being the most captivating thing on screen. And I'm happy to be proved wrong. I really am. And through all this as well, we've still got Mina as well, who is, obviously a lot older, but is still very, very good and has proved herself to be good in that main event scene. So, again, much as WWE's money does talk, and we've seen it many, many times, I'm not overtly concerned about Stardom's ability to bounce back.
No. And Rob, I will let the Mayu number one fan thing slide. That's fine. It's my show, so it's okay. But overall, you're absolutely right. They have all these players in the game. You just got to use them now. And I also like to remind people, Stardom likes to sign a few wrestlers here and there. I don't know if you know that, right? It's a few every year. This year, they had the biggest haul ever. They got Suzu Suzuki away from prominence and away from death matches.
It's a huge get, that is. Huge.
Which I predicted, and people call me crazy, but I said money talks, and not only does money talk, she's undeniable. She's an undeniable star, and she's won the 5-star Grand Prix. But I think that is also going to come into play next year. There are going to be people signed. There are going to be people brought in to this company to succeed. I don't know who, because I never know who's a free agent these days.
God,
Besides
no.
freelancers, and most of the freelancers have a contract with Sukeban at this point, so I don't really know how that works. Clearly it's not that bad because half of them work for Stardom.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just going to say, to be fair, Unagi works every single promotion she possibly can, so they're clearly not that
true.
exclusive.
Right. That's very true. So, like, the way I look at it as well is, if Giulia leaves, don't be surprised if they use that money elsewhere. You know, but again, this isn't me assuming she's going, because this is Giulia. Giulia is someone who has been very open about wanting to, you know, make Joshi wrestling bigger. And whatever road she wants to do that, whether that's go to WWE with the likes of EO and Kyrie, or continue kind of leading the charge for Stardom, she's going to do it. My hope, my selfish hope, and I'll be 100% frank, I want her to stay and never leave, because she's Giulia. No one wants to lose Giulia. I still am waiting for the World of Stardom title reign that I didn't get this year. I didn't get anything. Tam ruined that. I didn't get any. I got the great story, right, to end the year last year, and then it was like, psych. Yeah.
It was a very strange title run, wasn't it? Like, we exercised the demons from our past and then instantly lost it. Honestly, I'm so glad Matt hasn't come on, simply because he'd be losing his mind right now. But yeah, until Giulia has completed that arc, I'd be amazed if she leaves with this being her only red belt reign. Obviously, at the moment, we have two people who've ever held the red belt more than once, Io and Mayu. I fully expect that in the next 2-3 years, Utami to have joined that group and Giulia to have joined that group. So that is another thing. She wants to be the top of the company. And she held the belt for, I think it was 100 and something days. She's the second shortest reigning red belt champion, I think. So don't clip that. I think that's right.
Well, this entire segment's getting clipped, so that's tough. But, but I appreciate you saying don't clip that. So I guess overall, to kind of just finish this thought up, I will go on the WWE side here. You should want Giulia. If you're AEW, you'd be silly not to join into the sweepstakes to get Giulia. All I ask is, if she goes to either one, you better book her right. If she isn't 100% of the same badass that she is, I understand if she's in WWE, she ain't hitting all the same moves. I get that. But the aura still needs to be there. If you're watching this video, if you saw the thumbnail for this video and you saw Giulia and she's not that, then you're not getting Giulia. You're wasting your money on not getting the full Giulia that I knew once she went to America was going to start getting the full attention from these companies. Because quite frankly, that first appearance at Multiverse United, she was the biggest star on that show. On a show that had Hiroshi Tanahashi. On a show that had the Motor City Machine Guns. Like, all these popular wrestlers here in America. Who was the most popular wrestler? Giulia.
Yeah. Just sort of piggybacking on what you've just said, I have infinitely more faith, because when you said at the very, very start of this segment, how did you feel when the news broke that WWE were interested in Giulia? I had one picture in my mind, and it was from the Shinsuke Nakamura Jinder Mahal feud, when they did the weird face photos of Shinsuke, and I was like, this is former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Shinsuke Nakamura, IWGP Heavyweight, sorry. And if the same powers that be were in charge, I would have nothing but fear for Giulia's booking. However, there's a reason Kyrie's gone back. I have infinitely more faith in the current creative that Giulia would be used correctly than if it was still Vince and Bruce Pritchard in charge. That's not to say that they haven't had faux pas and that Giulia wouldn't be one of them, but the chances are incredibly lessened with big Paul Levesque in charge.
I'd like to just make a pitch to WWE. There's Japanese men's wrestlers. You could just like look at them for once instead of
Yeah.
all the women's wrestlers that we enjoy. That would be really cool.
There's this great guy. His name's Hiroshi Tanahashi. Like his knees don't work anymore, but the guy has
awesome.
charisma for days.
Someone's gonna hear this and be like, did you just try to get rid of Hiroshi Tanahashi? There's this guy named David Finlay. He's the son of Fit Finlay. You're welcome.
I know you sort of want to keep re-signing wrestlers, but I don't know if you've heard of this guy Tanga Loa. You used to have him in NXT as Camacho. Improved phenomenally if you want to take him instead and sort of stop him being in next year's G1. That would be just a big thing for us guys.
We're just trying to help. We're just trying to help. You don't need to keep looking at Stardom, is my point. But yeah, overall, the way we look at this is simple. WWE should be interested. Otherwise, you shouldn't be a pro wrestling company in 2023 if you're not interested in Giulia. And Stardom's going to be okay. I will ask this to close this out. Say Giulia does leave. Terrible hypothetical, but consider she does.
Jesus.
What 3 wrestlers are you pushing up the card?
Assuming that Utami and Saya Kamitani are already main eventers, we sort of consider them to be there.
I will say Suzu.
Yeah.
I guess we'll disqualify. She won the 5-star.
Okay.
You can't push someone up a card after winning.
She's already had red belt matches. She's already won the 5-star. Yeah, she needs to push, Suzu.
Don't tell people that. They will not like that.
Micah, for me, she's got all of the upside that you could possibly want, and she's over as well. That helps. Starlight Kid, for me, because she can wrestle either heel or face, has proved that she's not just a high-speed wrestler, which is what I was concerned about with her being pushed into the main event scene. But I do think she just needs that one blowout match with Mayu to really cement herself in that main event. So her, Micah, and you know what? Probably Natsupoi. If we're disqualifying Suzu Suzuki, and we are already,
I think we're in the midst of Suzu getting elevated. Like that's kind of why I'm like, let's not, include her. The moment she signed with this company, she's been a focal point. She's been the, kind of the leader of the generational struggle. Now she's won the 5-star. She's the one that's talking in every single Tokyo Sports article these days. So she loves to talk. So that's not shocking. She does love to talk. That's why she closes every show now, because they're like, hey, we want you to cut the closing promo because no one else likes to. So that's kind of the way I look at that. So my 3, I'm gonna go with Natsupoi because I think the time is now more than anything. Like, this is with or without Giulia being here. It should be now either way. Micah, I think, has that same defense, but since you picked her, I will not pick her. I'll give different answers. I think Natsupoi is the one I want to keep the same, though, for sure. I'm sending Hanan up the card, actually, because I think they have a very special talent in Hanan.
Future ace.
Exactly. Like, she's been deemed that for years, and she's only just 18. But the beauty of Stardom, when the likes of Io and Kairi left, they went with the Momo Watanabe. And of course, Momo Watanabe didn't turn out to be their next ace or anything. But I'd say Momo Watanabe is one of the very best in that company, and she had a phenomenal reign as Wonder Stardom champion. I would push Hanan. I'd start giving her title matches, like her versus Mirai's money. It's absolute money.
That was one of my predictions when we did our 5-star Grand Prix primer. I had earmarked that match because I was convinced Hanan was going to go over Mirai in that. And then Mirai lost her first 2 matches back to back, and I was like, "Oh crap!"
I had Mirai losing to Azumi and Hanan.
Yeah,
and
me too.
Beat both of them because she lost her first 2 matches.
I was like, "God damn it!"
I got the Sayori one right. That's the only one I got right.
Yeah.
Obviously,
which is
having
going to be a
someone like
great
Baylor
match.
is great, by the way.
Yeah,
That's
she is.
never a bad thing. And then the third wrestler, Starlight Kid, I feel like should be a lock just because of how popular she is, right? But she's had such a down year, so I think the conversation
really
of
has.
elevating her is definitely there. But again, I don't want to name all the same people, so I'm not going to do that. I'm between two, and I think this one's more from my heart because it's now, because I think Azumi has time on her side, obviously, and I think a lot of people love her. I always recommend her as the wrestler to show someone an Azumi match to get them into Stardom, because there's no wrestler in the world like Azumi. But I'm going with Hazuki.
Oh God, yes.
I can't wait anymore. Okay, like flashback to Ryogoku Sumo Hall, Sakura Genesis. Mercedes Monet's in the ring. Azumi's in the ring. Hazuki's in the ring. Who are they cheering for?
Hazuki. They love her. She's so over.
In that moment, I said, I don't know how you do anything besides push her. She has one of the best matches of the year against Saya Kamitani. She has that trios match, which is one of my personal favorites of the year.
Yep.
Not trios, three-way. She has great trios matches, though. She's good at those, too. She's in one of the best tag teams in the world in FWC. Her and Micah are the same to me. They both should be elevated no matter what. And Natsupoi, I think those three are the people you hear about the most, right? Azumi, Starlight Kid, Hanan, they have time on their side. I would still elevate one of them now. But those three, you just have them ready to go. So if Giulia were to leave, I think we've given 6 great wrestlers that are all worthy of getting leveled up to that main event, to that high mid card section. And then, of course, you still have Shuri, Utami, Saya Kamitani, Mayu Utani, Tam. Like, you just have such a great top nucleus as is.
Fukigen Death.
Fukigen Death, of course.
Absolutely.
The
4-way queen.
But overall, yeah, Giulia's going to be fine no matter what, I think. I think
absolutely.
she's just that type of star. We're going to selfishly hope that it is for Stardom, though, because we wouldn't be Stardom fans if we thought anything else, I think.
Exactly.
Anyways, Rob, thank you so much. I'm going to kick it over to the rest of the show. But before that, where can the people find you?
You can find me at the Stardom Cast, all over podcasting platforms. We're literally everywhere. You can, if you want to, you can subscribe to our Patreon, where you get lots of bonus content, including some episodes with this handsome devil next to me. Patreon.com/the Stardom Cast. You can also follow us on social media at the Stormcast. You can follow me at Real Rob Goodwin. Also follow Matt Turner, because he's just a lovely bloke, at Matt Turner OF.
He is. He sometimes tags me in random things. I'm like, I don't know, what did I do? What is it? He's always
he's just texts me, and I'm like, oh God, who else is leaving now? Or who else is injured? Jesus.